Okay, so this is lesson 11.8. So today's lesson is going to look very similar to when we used the distributive property of multiplication, okay? So if you remember, and over here they have an example, this distributive property is the property where you break apart an array. So you take your array and you break it apart into two smaller equations, okay? So remember when we are doing area is length times width. So again, it's going to look like an array. We are going to be breaking apart our array into two smaller models. So it's going to look, again, very similar to the distributive property, okay? All right, so step one says use square tiles to model 4 groups of 9. I got a little ahead of myself. Up at the top, we have a story problem. It says Anna's rug has side lengths of 4 feet and 9 feet. What is the area of Anna's rug? Okay. All right, so our length is 4 feet, and then our width would be 9 feet. Okay. So down below here on our grid paper, we are going to be drawing our rectangle to 4 groups of 9. Okay, so I went ahead and drew our model, our array. So again, the length was 4 units, and then the width was 9, okay? All right, so now we're going to be using that distributive property, and we're going to be breaking apart our model. So it says draw a vertical line, or a line that goes up and down, to break apart the model to make 2 smaller rectangles, okay? So I'm going to break apart our big array into 2 smaller arrays. Okay, so my 2 arrays, so now I have 2 arrays. So if you notice, our length stayed the same, but our width has changed, okay? So our length now would be 5 and 4, okay? So again, when you remember, when you're using the distributive property, when you break apart your 2 arrays, if you add them together, you should get the same amount as you did before. So we are going to write our equations for our 2 arrays down below, and then we will double check to make sure our product is the same, okay? All right, so rectangle 1 would have a length of 4 feet. So I'm going to write the number 4 here. And then going up to the top here, this would be rectangle 1. So I will count my width. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So my first array would be 4 groups of 5. Okay, and then using multiplication, 4 groups of 5 is 20. So my product of my first triangle, or my area of my first triangle, will be 20, or excuse me, my rectangle. Okay, and here is our second rectangle. So again, our length stayed the same. So our first factor would be 4. Okay, and then our width changed, and it is 4. So now I have 4 groups of 4. And 4 groups of 4 is 16. Okay, so again, up above where it shows the distributive property, I should be able to add my 2 products together, and that should give me my total area, and we are measuring in square feet, okay? So down below here for my equation, I am going to take my 2 products for my 2 rectangles, and I'm going to add them together. So rectangle 1 was 20 feet, and rectangle 2, the area was 16 feet. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I would like you to pause the video, go ahead and add up 20 plus 16, and we will check our square footage. Okay, so hopefully you got an answer of 36, and a way that I can check it is I can go back and I can essentially just take away this line and go back into my big rectangle And again, when we're finding area, we multiply the length times the width, okay? So my length was 4, my width was 9. We know that 4 groups of 9 is 36. So my answer was correct, okay? All right, another way that you can check it is if you were stuck with your multiplication, if you weren't sure what 4 groups of 9 were, you could go ahead and you could count in all your little squares, and there should be 36 of them. All right, so our answer would be 36 square feet. Okay, so the area of Anna's rug is 36 square feet. All right, on to page 2. Okay, so same thing. We are going to be using the distributive property. And it looks like for these 2 examples, they went ahead and already broke apart your rectangles for you, which makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so on this one, this would be rectangle 1, and down here would be rectangle 2. Okay, so if I am counting my length first for rectangle 1, that would be 1, 2, 3. So my first factor here on rectangle 1 would be 3. Okay, again, kind of draw on this line here so we can see that we have 2 separate rectangles here. It'll show up a little better. Okay, so now I already found my length, and now I'm going to count my width. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So my second factor would be 7. Okay, so again, using multiplication, 3 groups of 7 is 21. Okay, rectangle 1 is done. I'm going to go down to rectangle 2. Again, we're going to find our length first. So our length is 1, 2, and 3 units. So I'm going to go ahead and write the number 3 for my first factor. Second factor is 3 units as well. Okay, using multiplication, 3 groups of 3, I get a product of 9. All right, so down below, I'm going to add up my 2 products to find my total area. So I'm going to take 21 plus 9, okay, equals 30. All right, so our area in square units would be 30. Okay, now again, a way to check this would be to take, so again, a way to check this would be to add up all your squares, and you should count 30. Okay, all right, so same thing for second rectangle. They broke it apart into 2 pieces. So again, I'm going to go on this dotted line here just to make it a little bit darker. Straight as I can make it. Okay. All right, so this will be rectangle 1. This will be rectangle 2. Okay. So again, we count the length first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So down here on our first space, I'm going to write the number 6. That is our first product, our first length. And then we have a width of 3. All right, so using multiplication, 6 groups of 3 is 18. All right, so that figure has an area of 18. All right, second figure, again, I'm going to do the length first. So 1, 2, and 3. So my first factor would be 3. And then counting over my length, I see 4. Okay, 3 groups of 4 is 12. Okay, so again, to find my totals, whoops, eraser here. So again, to find my total units, I am going to add up my two products. I'm going to add up 18 plus 12. Okay, and I will get a sum of 30. So 30 square units is my area for this figure. All right, so again, you can go back to check. You can add up all of your squares and you should get 30. Okay, so if you notice, these were the same figure. We just showed two different ways to break it apart. All right, the last one we have here, it says draw a line to break apart this figure into triangles. Find the total area of the figure. All right, so we can break apart this figure any way that we want to. I'm just going to go ahead and break it apart here. Okay, and I'm sorry, I keep saying triangle. We're dealing with rectangles here. So, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and break apart this figure. And now we have two rectangles, not triangles, rectangles. And here is going to be rectangle 1 or figure 1, and here is rectangle 2, okay? All right, so again, you work with your length first and then your width. So I have a length of 2, so my first factor is going to be 2. And then my width is 3. Okay? All right, so 2 groups of 3 is 6. All right, so for my second figure, or rectangle 2, I have a length of 2. And then I have a width of 7. All right, so 2 groups of 7 is 14. Okay, so I'm going to take my two products and I'm going to add them together to find my sum or my area. All right, so you can go ahead and pause the video and add up 14 plus 6, and then we will check our answers. All right, so I got a sum of 20 square units. Hopefully you did as well. So again, to check it, you could go ahead and count up each square and you should get 20 of them, okay? All right, so again, I chose to do a horizontal line this time, but again, you can draw vertical or horizontal lines as we showed in our examples up above, okay? Vertical and horizontal. So just a reminder today when you're doing your assignment that you can break apart your arrays however works best for you, okay? All right, so that is lesson 11.8. Again, you can always check out Khan Academy and rewatch this video if you have any questions or if you need to have extra practice, okay? All right, have a good day.